Now, when the words car, Peugeot and sporty are mentioned in the same sentence, you'd usually be talking about the Peugeot RCZ. This obviously isn't the RCZ, this is the Peugeot 308, and although it does look like your standard family hatch from the side, I'd argue it's quite sporty, so let's have a closer look. Oh yeah. So, at a glance, the dashboard appears pretty average, probably the most interesting thing on there being my rather colourful iPhone, but that all changes when you insert the key and turn the engine on. This rather impressive screen pops out of the dashboard and reveals the display for your satellite navigation and all your other options that you can choose from within the car. And that brings us on to these 3 air vents that are all polished off with some nice brushed aluminium trim, which makes them very premium. Then we've got all our radio options, we've got a space for your colourful iPhone, we've got our climate control, gear shifter, 12-volt adapter, and that brings us on to this rather interesting button here, which when you push it in the Allure model or as an option, it reveals this very nice panoramic sunroof that just lets light flow into the cockpit. There are plenty of trim levels to choose from in the 308 range, and even kit on the entry level trim is generous, as you get an easily adjustable rake and reach steering wheel, CD player with MP3 and air conditioning. All of which isn't overly exciting, but definitely ticks all the right boxes in terms of the basics. Most people will probably go for the mid-range trim like the Active, which adds cruise control, leather steering wheel and Bluetooth. One feature that inspires you to be particularly cool behind the wheel is the armrest that can be moved backwards, forwards and angled so that you can lean whilst you're driving. And there's also some storage in there. Now, on storage, it's not that great. This particular compartment here is a fair size, and there's also our USB connectivity in there. The glove box is a little bit disappointing. You could argue that glove boxes are no longer needed because you don't really need CDs anymore because you use your iPod, but it's still nice to have that space in there, and it is very, very limited, due to which appears to be the fuse box in there. So not great, but it's compensated by fair size side bins, and we've got a few other little binnacles around the cockpit, and these 2 cup holders in the middle here are pretty damn useless. You don't fit 2 cups in, is the long and short of the story here. The other day I went on a 200-mile round trip and we did make maybe 3 or 4 service stops. That was maybe excessive, but we did. And on every single stop that we did make, we couldn't get our Costa cups, our McDonald's cups, our Burger King cups, or our average size cans in here. The only type of cans that we could fit in, well, 2 in at the same time anyway, was Red Bull. Now, although we were a little bit greedy making all those stops, it did make for quite a good test on these cup holders alone. So lets itself down. We actually found ourselves using a cup holder in the back for the passenger. But I'm not complaining, well, too much anyway, as the interior up front is pretty premium. So let's have a look what it's like for practicality for the kids in the back. Now, for a family hatch, I was a little bit disappointed by how much legroom is on offer in the back of the 308. Certainly a fair enough amount of headroom, so it's not too bad with that, but a little bit disappointing with legroom. Now, these little miniature replica vents from the front are certainly a highlight for me in the back. I think they're pretty incredible. It's a feature that would certainly make the 308 attractive to me. And we've got plenty of storage back here too. We've got this little compartment here, we've got pockets on the back of the chairs, and quite large side bins in the door, and the essential 2 cup holders in the back, which you're certainly going to need to store drinks in for your passengers in the front. Plus there's some more storage space in here, plus a little hatch to get through to the boot. So very practical, relatively comfortable and very well finished. So let's have a look at the boot. Now, the boot space is quite fair. You'll certainly get any suitcases or your weekly shop in the back of here with ease, but there is a little bit of a lift to access the boot, so that may make things a little bit tricky, and things get even more tricky when you come to put the rear seats down. So I'll get that out the way. Now, to get the seats completely flat, we've got to take the bottoms up, which relatively easily done if the front seats are further enough forward, and then we can just release them down. As you can see, we've not got that quite forward enough, so we've got to pull this forward. There we go. Get that further down, slot them into there, go around the other side. Pull that forward, pull this up, pull that down, and there you go. Seats fully down. A little bit of effort, but relatively flat, so not bad.
On the road, the 308 is really nice to drive. The windscreen is also nice and big, so you get a great view of the road, which is assisted by these really small A-pillars. The 308's grip on the road is also really good, and it feels quite sporty. However, on the negative side, although the grip is great thanks to a firmer suspension, this firmer suspension also means you feel all the bumps in the road. And back to the pillars, yes, the A-pillars are thin, but the C-pillar in the back is huge, meaning reversing is a little bit of a nightmare. There are quite a few engines on offer, with a 95 brake horsepower 1.4 litre petrol being offered at entry level. However, if you're looking for something a little bit more punchy and fun, choose something like the 1.6 litre 120 brake horsepower diesel.
I spent the best part of a week with the 308, and during that time I spent quite a bit of time on the motorway, and I must say it is a very comfortable car to drive. As with the majority of Peugeots, the audio controls and the cruise control are not on the steering wheel, they're on little levers just behind the steering wheel, which are very, very easy to use once you get used to them, because your fingers just slide into the relevant buttons and you don't have to take your eyes off the road whatsoever to use it, which is especially important with the cruise control. The seating position in the car is great. There's very few blind spots around the cabin, and there's plenty of glass all over the place, so you shouldn't have any problems navigating through small spots in the city. And in this particular diesel engine, there's plenty of power, so whether you're on the motorway or for the daily commute around the city, this particular diesel engine is very well recommended.
Although hatchbacks are usually great when it comes to residual values, a sporty model like the Peugeot 308 won't retain its value that well, unfortunately. But if you're after something a little bit more sporty in a hatch, then the 308 isn't a bad choice. The 308 is one of the sportiest looking hatchbacks around. However, its design seems a little bit behind the times, especially when compared to new cars like the Renault Clio. For this reason, we give its appeal 3.5 stars. The 308's practicality has its ups and downs. For example, there is loads of headroom for rear passengers, but hardly any legroom, and the boot offers plenty of storage space, but a little bit of an awkward opening. Still, it has got a lot to offer for a hatchback. We give its practicality 4 out of the 5 stars. Unlike many of the new hatchback models on sale, the 308 doesn't really offer any draw-dropping engines, whether it's from a power or an efficiency point of view. This may hold the 308 back in the competitive hatchback market. We give its performance 3.5 out of the 5 stars. When on the road, the 308 is a funny one. It offers a fun driving experience with plenty of grip, but its firm suspension lets itself down as it tends to overrule its positives. We give its ride and handling 3.5 out of the 5 stars. For ownership, the 308 is without doubt a good looking car, and it's fairly enjoyable to drive. However, with the 308 it seems to take priority over refinement, especially when it comes to its engines and ride. Its price tag of £13,195 undercuts the Ford Focus by around £800, although the Focus does come generously equipped. We give the 308 an ownership rating of 3.5 out of 5 stars. So overall, if you're looking for a sporty looking hatchback that can get you from A to B and is reasonably priced, then the 308 is a very good choice. But if you're looking for an efficient hatchback that delivers an all-round enjoyable drive, then you may want to look at competitors like the Ford Focus. We give the Peugeot 308 an overall rating of 3.5 out of the 5 available Motor Talk stars.